Good day, everyone. I'm Dr. Ekwueme-Ugwu, co-presenting with my colleague, Dr. Egwu. We have entitled this paper, Inventing Environmental Consciousness in Igbo Oral Repertoire, an analysis of Ekwueme-Ugwu and selected Echo Proverbs. The concern of this paper is with the apparent relegation of the ecological values embedded in the Igbo Proverbs to the back burner by translators of the Proverbs. It is discovered in the course of this study that many of the Igbo Proverbs have very interesting ecological concerns, express very interesting ecological concerns, but translators of the Proverbs are more concerned with sociological issues, and for this reason they totally undermine these environmental values that are embedded in the Proverbs. Now, we have selected 50 Igbo Proverbs, purposely selected based on their relevance to the concern of this study, which is ecological consciousness. They have been selected from F.O.F. Owodofor's book of Proverbs entitled Ekwueme-Ugwu, published 2013. Now, in this study, we have adopted the methods of ethno-poetics and eco-criticism as the theoretical framework of the study. And it is at this point that I invite my colleague, Dr. Egwu, to talk more on these theories before I continue.
Thank you. My work now is to relay what we are doing to ethnopoetic studies to find its relevance to what we are doing. As my colleague has mentioned, we actually look at some Igbo proverbs as contained in Owodofor's Manu Eji Eri Oku, Manu Eji Oku, and we discover that some of the proverbs have not been have been interpreted, translated and interpreted with certain eco-critical consciousness and values undermined. Of course, apparently because the collector is so mindful of the sociological implications of the proverbs, particularly the moral lessons that can be drawn from the proverbs. But now I want to show that there are eco-critical, issues discussed in those proverbs that reveal that the original producers of these proverbs, of course, have sound eco-critical consciousness, which are being undermined by translators and interpreters in our time. So what does ethnopoetics do? Ethnopoetics, of course, studies verbal arts of non-literate societies to see how their inherent beauties and meaning can be brought out, particularly when it has to do with those verbal arts that have been collected and translated by people that are being influenced by Western ideals and standards. Of course, such scholars have often, mistranslated and misinterpreted verbal art. This is actually what we find in Owodofor's work. Some of the interpretations are valid, but he has undermined certain eco-critical consciousness fully present in those in those poems. So we are retranslating and reinterpreting some of these proverbs from, of course, the indigenous Igbo person's consciousness to make the point that eco-critical values or issues are well embedded in these proverbs. Ethnopoetics have been variedly, applied by several scholars to study indigenous art forms. The pioneer proponents, for instance, Taylor, 1981-82, and Himes, 1982-83, have used ethnopoetics to study Native American verbal arts, to try to retranslate, to reinterpret as a way of bringing out the beauties and the meanings that interpreters that approached these works from the Western perspective undermined and lost out. So they have employed ethnopoetics to reinterpret, retranslate Native American art, indigenous art types, and have tried to bring out the lost beauties and the lost consciousness, indigenous consciousness in them. This is what we are trying to do with Igbo proverbs here. My colleague will take over and discuss the implication of eco-critical theory and also discuss the data we have here. Thank you.
Ecological consciousness as the focus of eco-criticism has been established by such eco-critics as Cherry Bloch-Felty, William Roker, Lawrence Buell, and a host of them. And it is based on their earlier studies that we are anchoring this study on that theory. We, as I said earlier, we are examining the relationship that these selected proverbs have with indigenous understanding of the environment and the human relationship with the natural organisms in those environments. Now, we have here 5 proverbs selected out of the original 50 for the purpose of this presentation. And we have attempted here to present the original proverb, the translation from the author, and then to identify the elements of environmental consciousness that is missing, and then attempt to retranslate. So we have here the first proverb, which says, Chi kere nwago agaghị ekwe ka ọta ahịhịa. Meaning, according to the translator, the God that created the lion cub will not allow it to feed on grass. Within the context, the sociological context of suffering cannot crush one who enjoys the favor of providence. And we argue here that this contextualization undermines the environmental value that is embedded in this particular proverb. So we have reinterpreted it to read, nature has provided for every creature the kind of nourishment that is suitable for its kind. Similarly, the second proverb, which says, "Ọ na-aka mma ka ọkụkọ were ọnụ ya tụwa akwa ya," has been translated as, "It is better for the hen to break its egg with its own beak," in the context of a person who willfully damages his own property has nobody to blame. Again, this overtly emphasizes anthropocentric issues at the expense of the clear ecological underpinnings that are embedded in that proverb. And so we attempted a reinterpretation to read, human beings should learn to allow nature to have its course. The third proverb says, ọ bụrụ na okokporo chụsa ngwere, ya na onye ga-ebi. And then translated, if a bachelor drives away lizards, who would be his closest neighbor? In the context of a person who is considered unimportant can be useful one time or another. And then we argue here that even though consciousness of the environment is embedded in the proverb with the elements such as the lizard cohabiting with the human beings, the contextualization undermines this interrelationship of organisms to emphasize the human problems of importance in the society, and so on and so forth. And so we have attempted a retranslation to read, interrelationship of organisms is essential for the mutual survival of all. In the fourth proverb, we have awo buzo dalo lulu ndi so ya nazo amuta ihe. Now, when the toad in front falls into a pit, the ones following it learn the lesson. And it says the context of this usage, according to the collector and translator, it is wisdom to learn from another person's mistake. Again, emphasizing human needs at the expense of the overall environmental setting of the proverb. And so we retranslate the proverb to read, nature has built the survival instinct in every creature. And finally, we have the proverb, Ewi siri kama isi amuru oku ga-egbu ya, ọsọ gbuo ya na dinta. The bush rat says that he would rather die running from the hunter than to inhale smoke, within the context of no price is too much for one who is fighting to save one's life. Again, talks about human beings struggling to save their lives. And we have reinterpreted this to mean life in an ecosystem as in the jungle is an endless race for survival. Now, conclusively, this paper has succeeded in showing that there is environmental consciousness in Igbo proverbs, even though some apparently Western influenced translators and interpreters undermine such consciousness. We believe that by undertaking this study, and at the time it is completed, we have gone a step towards creating climate or environmental consciousness in indigenous users or the Igbo proverb. We stress here the interconnectedness of elements and the fact that it is at this stage that we will begin to stress this to the indigenous users of the language as a way of contributing to global climate environmental issues. Thank you.